You all believed her over me. My sister laughed, raising her glass. I froze as guests turned toward me. Then the doctor stepped forward and said, "That's not the truth. My name is Claire Donovan, and I'm 34 years old. I work as a pediatric nurse. Long shifts, low recognition. But I've always cared deeply about people. That's just who I am at my core. I'm the quiet one in the family. Not flashy, not loud. Just dependable. My sister, Olivia, has always been the one they praised. The charming one. The center of every single room. Growing up, I got used to being overlooked. Birthdays, achievements, even my own struggles. Somehow, they always became about her. If I got an A, Olivia got a standing ovation for a B+. If I was hurting, she was hurting louder. Still, I believed family meant something. I showed up. I helped. I stayed loyal, even when it cost me everything. This anniversary party wasn't just a celebration. It was proof that I had built something stable, something real. Years of solid marriage. I wasn't rich or glamorous, but I had something they didn't expect from me. And that night, everything I had stayed silent about was pushed right into the open. If you've ever felt like the invisible one in your own family, hit subscribe right now. I know how that feels more than anyone. Tell me in the comments, have you ever been overlooked? And if you're ready for the full truth to come out, click hype and let's go. The backyard was decorated with string lights and white tablecloths. The smell of barbecue and fresh flowers filled the warm evening air. My husband, Daniel, had planned it all. So many years together, and he still made me feel like the luckiest woman alive. Family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, they all came. For once, tonight was about us. Then Olivia stood up. She tapped her wine glass with a butter knife, and the clinking sound cut through every conversation like a blade. The yard went quiet. All eyes moved to her, like they always did. "I owe everyone here an apology," she said, her voice shaking just enough to sound believable. "I was never pregnant." The silence that followed was suffocating. I could hear the ice melting in someone's glass nearby. Then the whispers started, spreading through the crowd like wildfire. Olivia turned directly toward me, her eyes glistening with tears that looked rehearsed. I lied because I couldn't stand watching her get all the attention for once. Claire always had to be the center of everything, and I just wanted someone to notice me too. My mouth opened. Nothing came out. Guests began connecting dots that didn't exist. Whispers turned into assumptions. I could see it on their faces. They thought I had pressured her somehow. They thought I was the reason she lied. Then my mother stood up from her chair. She didn't even look at Olivia. She looked straight at me with that familiar disappointed expression I'd seen my entire life. "Claire, you've always made your sister feel less than. This is what happens when you push people." I stood there, humiliated at my own anniversary party, painted as the villain in a story I didn't write. My hands were shaking. My throat was dry. The night I had waited so long to enjoy was crumbling around me. Then, from the back of the yard, a man stood up. Dr. Raymond Ellis. He had been sitting quietly all evening, barely noticed. He adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat. I think everyone deserves to hear the full truth. What happened next felt like watching my own life burn down in slow motion. Within minutes, family members who had hugged me at the door were now avoiding eye contact. My aunt pulled her chair away from my table. My uncle shook his head and muttered something I couldn't quite catch. Nobody asked me what happened. Nobody asked for my side. They just decided. Olivia kept going. She dabbed at her eyes with a napkin, and I watched my cousin hand her a glass of water like she was some fragile thing about to collapse. "Claire always had a way of making me feel small," she said softly. "She pressured me into keeping up the act. She wanted me to be pregnant so she could feel like the responsible one. It was a lie. Every single word of it. But nobody cared about the truth. They cared about the performance. And Olivia was putting on the show of her life." Then my mother walked over to where I was standing. She didn't whisper. She didn't pull me aside. She said it loud enough for every person in that yard to hear. "You've always been jealous of your sister, Claire. Always. And now look what you've done." I tried to speak. "Mom, That's not what happened. I didn't pressure her into anything. She held up her hand. Stop. Just stop. You've done enough. I felt my chest tighten. The warm air suddenly felt cold. The string lights that had looked so beautiful earlier now just felt blinding. Then my cousin Rachel leaned over to another guest and said, loud enough for me to hear, did you know Olivia was collecting baby gifts and money during the whole pregnancy thing? People sent her hundreds of dollars. I expected the room to turn on Olivia then. I expected outrage. But instead, my aunt looked at me and said, if you had been a better sister, she wouldn't have needed to fake anything. That one sentence nearly broke me. But I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. I stood still. I watched. I listened. And something inside me shifted. Not anger. Something quieter than that. Clarity. Because the more Olivia talked, the more her story didn't hold together. The dates didn't match. The details kept changing. She mentioned a doctor she never visited at a hospital that didn't exist on the street she named. I had noticed these things months ago. I had written them down. And the man sitting quietly at the back of the yard, the one nobody had paid attention to, he knew the truth too. They thought they had already won. They hadn't even started losing yet. What they didn't know was that I had already questioned Olivia's story months ago. See, when you work as a pediatric nurse for over a decade, you learn things. You learn how pregnancies actually progress. You learn the language doctors use, the timelines that matter, and the signs that don't lie. And Olivia's story had holes big enough to walk through. She told the family she was 12 weeks along, but her behavior didn't match. No nausea, no fatigue, no appointments she could actually name. When I casually asked which clinic she was going to, she changed her answer twice in the same week. I started writing things down. Dates she mentioned. Names of doctors she claimed to see. Details she gave one person that completely contradicted what she told another. I kept it all in a notebook I hid in my bedside drawer. I didn't want to expose her. That was never my goal at all. I wanted to protect her. I thought maybe she was going through something dark, and this was her way of crying for help. But something felt wrong from the very beginning. So I reached out privately through professional channels to verify her medical claims. What I found confirmed every suspicion I had. I built a quiet case, not out of revenge, out of self-preservation. And the doctor standing in that yard that night, he wasn't there by accident. I had invited him myself. Dr. Raymond Ellis wasn't just any guest at my party. He was my mentor, the senior physician who trained me during my first year in the pediatric ward. He taught me how to read patients, how to trust my instincts, and how to stay calm when everything around me was falling apart. When I first brought my concerns about Olivia to him, he listened without judgment. He reviewed the inconsistencies I had documented and helped me quietly verify the facts through proper medical channels. He didn't push me to confront her. In fact, he told me the opposite. Claire, if she's lying, it will come out on its own, he said. Don't put yourself in the middle of it unless you have no other choice. I respected that advice. I held back. I swallowed my doubts and tried to give Olivia the benefit of the doubt, even when every instinct in my body told me something was wrong. But I also asked him one thing. If it ever goes public, if she ever tries to twist this against me, will you be there? He looked me in the eyes and said, I'll be there. So when Olivia stood up at my anniversary party and performed her little confession, I wasn't entirely unprepared. And when the family turned on me like wolves, Dr. Ellis sat quietly, watching every word, every reaction, every lie. Olivia was growing more confident by the minute. She believed she had completely controlled the room. The family rallied behind her, patting her back, offering her comfort while I stood alone. She even smiled at me once across the table. A small, satisfied smile. But she didn't notice the doctor rising slowly from his chair. She didn't see him walking calmly toward the center of the yard. The room was about to shift, and Olivia had no idea. Dr. Ellis stopped in the middle of the yard where every guest could see him clearly. The string lights cast a warm glow across his face, and the party fell silent again. My name is Dr. Raymond Ellis, he said, his voice steady. I've been a physician for over 25 years. And I'm here tonight because the truth matters. Olivia's smile disappeared. I personally verified records at every clinic Olivia claimed to have visited during her supposed pregnancy, he continued. Not a single one had any record of her as a patient. No blood work, no ultrasounds, no prenatal visits, none. The whispers in the crowd died completely. The only sound was the crickets and the distant hum of traffic beyond the fence. Olivia jumped to her feet. That's not true. You don't know everything. You weren't my doctor. Dr. Ellis turned to face her calmly. You're right. I wasn't your doctor. Because you never had one. Not for this. She looked around for support, but the faces that had been so sympathetic moments ago were now frozen in confusion. Then I spoke. For the first time all night, I spoke. I knew months ago, I said. I noticed the inconsistencies. The changing dates. The clinics that didn't exist. I documented everything. But I didn't say anything because I wanted to protect you, Olivia. I thought maybe you were struggling and needed help. I kept quiet for you. The yard was completely still. Dr. Ellis added one final piece. Olivia visited 3 different clinics in 3 different cities with 3 completely different stories. One place was told she was 6 weeks along. Another was told 12. The third had no pregnancy claim at all. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My mother sat down, her face pale. My aunt covered her mouth. Cousin Rachel stared at the ground. Olivia's composure shattered. Her voice cracked as she tried to speak, but no believable words came out. The tears that had looked rehearsed before now became real, but they were tears of exposure, not sympathy. The family was forced to see what they had refused to see. They had blamed the wrong sister. They had attacked the wrong person. And they had done it publicly, loudly, without a single question asked. Nobody moved. Nobody apologized. The truth just hung there, heavy and undeniable. The party ended not with laughter, but with the sound of chairs scraping against the patio and car doors closing in the driveway. Guests left quietly, some looking back at me with expressions I couldn't quite read. Guilt, maybe, or just discomfort. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I sat down on the porch steps and just breathed. For the first time all evening, the air didn't feel thick. My mother came over to me before she left. She stood a few feet away, clutching her purse like a shield. Claire, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I looked at her for a long moment. Okay, Mom. That was all I gave her. It was all I had left. Dr. Ellis sat down quietly beside me before he left for the night. You handled that with real strength, Claire. I nodded but didn't speak. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just done. Done explaining. Done proving myself. Done begging people to see me. For the first time ever, I didn't need them to believe me, because I finally believed in myself. If you've ever been publicly humiliated or falsely blamed by the people closest to you, you know how deep that pain really goes. Share your story in the comments below. I'm listening, and I want to hear from you. Subscribe to be part of a community that stands for truth and self-worth. You're not alone in this. Click hype to help this story reach others who need to hear it. Your story has real power. If you felt a connection to mine, please subscribe and share your own journey in the comments below. Every single hype you give this video helps empower someone else who is going through the exact same thing. Thank you for being here tonight and for listening to every word. Your support means more than you know. I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong.